I'll call to order the meeting of the Stokes County Board of Commissioners for February 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And we will start the meeting with the invocation from Commissioner Wood.
Let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, give us strength and wisdom to make decisions, the right decisions for the people of Stokes County. Keep us safe and watch us over us and give us a safe trip home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
To approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody signed up for public comments, Amber? Okay, no public comments tonight. The next item on the agenda is comments from the manager and commissioners. And I'll start with Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see everybody out here tonight. Hope you had a good weekend. And as always, anybody that's watching us on live stream, welcome to our meeting. It's always good to see people that takes an interest in our governmental process. And just once again, thank you for coming out. It's good to see everyone. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendenhall. Commissioner Chandler.
Thank you. So good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody tuning in. I think we're going to have some good information tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing it and hopefully moving forward on a few things. Thank you.
Commissioner Wood.
Thanks everybody for coming. Glad to see you here. I'll keep my comments brief since we've been here since 9 this morning. That's all I got.
Thank everybody for being here. Good crowd, and hopefully there's a lot of people watching online and some good information, I think, coming through. And if you haven't been to King's Chick-fil-A, you should go check it out.
Can you get us one before?
Should have brought some today.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would just welcome everybody as well, either online or in the chamber here. We appreciate your participation in local government, and we're always interested in hearing what you have to say and what advice you might give us for how we do business up here. Manager, comments?
Welcome to everybody here. I want to take just a second to introduce our new planning director in the back here, Eric Nance. I feel bad because I haven't even talked to him today because we've been in here since 9 a.m. this morning. But welcome to you, and I hope you had a good first day. We haven't been able to really see you today, but we're glad that you're here. So, and we're here if you need us. Hopefully we can talk to you tomorrow a little bit. So, just want to make a second to introduce him to the board if you didn't get to meet him yet. So, and I hope we have a good and productive meeting. And like I say, we have been here since 9, so I won't talk anymore yet.
Okay, good. And thank you for doing that, because I was supposed to do that. And and if I'd read my notes, I'd do better. But anyway, we do welcome you, Eric, and look forward to talking with you and telling you about all the good issues we got you can help us with. So great to have you here. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the conflict of interest statement. And let me read that. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda for tonight, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest? Oh, okay, great. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve the consent.
Second.
One item I would just mention before we vote on that is the first budget amendment number 45. That was an action that was taken by the previous board of commissioners for building reuse grant for the Mitchells over in the building that used to be Oakley's store. And the county has agreed to a $10,000 match for a couple $100,000, I think it is. I don't have it open in front of me, but just wanted you to know what that particular budget amendment was for, and it's to get that grant, which was approved earlier, underway, so they can start spending the money to fix up the store over there and convert it into whatever it is they're converting it into with their business there. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is the information agenda, and I think, Shannon, you're going to present the thing on the public purpose grant that we got from.
Yes, it's really just
Joyce.
more of an informational piece for you and anybody that's interested in that particular grant. So, you know, we haven't received the funding yet, but we are due to receive the $1.3 million public purpose non-recurring grant for Stokes County that was in the budget. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of information about that early on. We kept hearing things about it. There was some confusion on who was getting the money as far as like if it was going to be more of a economic development grant, and there were some other things. It ended up being that that typically I've been the point of contact for a long time for OSBM for grants and things, but for this one I was not for some reason, and I didn't get any of the information until December 1st of this year as far as all the legalities of the grant and how it was going to work and who was getting the grant. The division of that funding had already been decided by our senator, and I think maybe at a Republican meeting you all had something to do with that as far as like speaking with her about that. So it ended up being divided as the 9 service districts and the fire departments were getting $50,000 each. The city of King, town of Walnut Cove, town of Danbury with $200,000 each. The sheriff's office for $100,000, the school system $100,000, and then the Hope Pregnancy Center for $50,000, which totals altogether $1.3 million. So being that we didn't get that information until December 1st and start on this, I got everything out to those particular entities and departments with some help from our assistant finance director, Tracy Aaron, helped with that a little, and to get it out to the fire departments because she has all those contacts, and got them to send back their scope of works, and then I got all the other ones back from the different cities. But we gave them till about the end of January to do that because it's you've got to decide how you're going to spend your funding and how you're going to report it. So we got the information back, submitted it. They wanted a little more detailed info, and then a couple of the entities changed their minds a little bit on how they were going to spend their funding, so then we resubmitted. At this point, we resubmitted, and I've been talking to the grant contact with the state. I've not gotten anything back yet, but we've not executed the contract either. We did sit through a OSBM webinar last week and found out a little bit of sort of scary information that the funding has to be completely spent by June 30th of 2024. So that's not a very long timeline. And fortunately, most of the projects that people have presented for these are things they can complete in that timeline. A lot of them are repaving projects, some are paying off debt, some are building training facilities, things like that. And OSBM recommends the county doing that like a reimbursable grant, so that as these entities or groups complete their projects or spend the funding, they'll come here, kind of like the Mitchell's grant would be. They'll come here, and as they spend things, they turn that in with receipts and get that funding back. So that way we're sure, because we are still required to do all the reporting, just like with the CARES Act funding when we placed that out. We had to do the reporting. And we have to comply with all of our audit standards and everything else. It's a pretty complicated process to do. So I just wanted to give you an update on it. I know there's been some talk about it a little bit. People are starting to hear about it now and know about it. But it is a really short timeline, and we're trying to turn it around and get the funding here so we can start to let those places start to work on their projects so that we can get that funding out to them as they spend those funds and try to get all that spent before June 30th of 24. So that's where we're at right now, but I just wanted to give you an update. If you have any questions, I've been dealing with it for quite a bit since December, so I can probably answer most of those if you've got any specific questions about it.
Does the money have to be obligated or the project completed by 2020?
It sounded to me, and Tracy, is she in here somewhere, was sitting here with me? It sounded to me like the money has to be obligated and spent.
Okay.
Like spent. We can't turn in any receipts after that because we have to turn
Okay.
in, because we do a quarterly report with them, because I'm doing all the reporting now for those other SCIF grants, like for the hospital and the green box sites and all those. And every quarter I have to do an expenditure statement for those and plug in any receipts that we've actually spent funding on, and then do a project update as far as if we've changed anything. This one's a little different. If anybody were to change more than 10% of their project use of the funds, it's a pretty large deal to try to make changes. So I really encourage everybody to submit what they really want to do with the funding, because it's not one of those it's not flexible. at all, really, like some of the other grants have been in the past, as far as changing the use of it once you receive the funding.
Okay. And they're in the process of finalizing that with you?
Well, they've sent everything, and I have sent it all to OSBM through our site with them, and once they check off on that, we'll execute the contract, and then we'll be able to receive the funding.
Okay.
Which I'm hoping is soon, because I want to get that started, so we're not, that timeline scared me the other day a little bit, the June of next year.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner, you have any questions, Commissioner Mendenhall?
No, I don't think we'll have any trouble spending that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
A year doesn't scare me spending that money, but thank you for the information.
Oh, I don't have a question, I got a comment. So within that funding group, there's two of our combined departments, or fire departments, that are not getting any type of funding, Westfield and then Pilot. So I kind of just want to go on record that I appreciate the money that's coming, that has been designated to go, but I feel very strongly about, we have our residents, they're volunteer firefighters in those combined units, and they serve part of Stokes County. So I just want to go on record with that.
Right, and I get it. I got an email the other day from I think it's the Westfield Fire Chief, maybe you want to talk about this, and I'm more than happy to talk to them, but as I explained to them in the email too, I didn't, or anybody here really didn't decide how that funding was going to be dispersed, and with this short timeline, even if we tried to do something different, I don't know that we could ever get it done and get the purpose of it changed in time to spend the funding by June of 2024. So I agree that.
Well, I understand,
yeah,
I'm not.
I know.
I'm
yeah.
just want to go on
I know. I
record.
get it.
Commissioner Wood, questions?
I think we need to reach out. Do they even know we have two more fire departments? We need to reach out and tell them so it's not.
She
did.
She just designated it to the service districts, like the town of the Quantico Fire Department didn't either. Now City of King is using their $200,000 for their fire department to do a project for their fire department. But yeah, she's aware of the other. She just did the service.
So they're not
districts.
left out next year if anything like that happens.
Commissioner Cox, comments, questions?
Just thank you, Shannon, for your hard work on that in the short time you had to complete it. And I know that was frustrating.
Well, I just want to get it submitted for them. I was just getting afraid we were going to not get it done in time and didn't want to lose the funding.
Does I just have one question and we can go on. Did the other counties, senators give them similar funds, like for instance Surrey? Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure. Did you ever reach out to Surrey at all? I didn't know if you did or not.
No,
to check with them to see.
It'd be
Yeah.
good just to check and see if
Oh.
maybe they got some. Westfield would have told us and Pilot if they had got some funding, I think, but.
My grant contact at OSBM did say that they had seen some similar funding in the budgets that were divided like this, where they had been divided for the county already before they received the funds to tell them how it was being spent. So there are, I guess, other counties out there in the same boat as us with that.
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much, Shannon. The next item on our agenda is the appointment. Actually, we're going to the discussion agenda, and the first item on the discussion agenda is appointment information from the Board of Health. And I think Chad Jarvis is going to present on that one, the chairman of the Board of Health.
So this is information that we had discussed in our department head meetings when I had an opportunity to speak to you then. But my intent and goal is to build a board of public health filled by members that meet the statutory requirements set forth by the general statutes of North Carolina. These members should represent traits of dynamic, forward-thinking professionals. Such a board should be engaged with members that would be able to subdivide into cohorts to address we have a lot of different issues that are within the realm of public health. And for one board to sit every other month and try and discuss and provide guidance to the health director is not realistic. And it's not realistic for one person or two people. It'd be better if we had the professionals that represent those groups to be able to divide out into committees and come back to the entire board for discussion and decision and guidance back to the department head. In order to move forward in that path, we have to maintain a balance of people who have historical perspective within the county, people that have been on the Board of Health, new members that are coming in. We have gotten some really dynamic people that are interested in being on the Board of Health, but with the components, if you'll see in your packet, the general statute, if somebody comes forth that wants to apply, not that anybody has, but we really should be out researching these people that live in the county and send them a letter to say, are you interested? And when we do that, my concern is that I could lose certain people that have that historical perspective within our Board of Health to say where we've been, where we went to when it was a combined human resources committee, and then where we're at now. And that would be Keith in the optometrist position. So to move him to the general membership, I've got a new member that's applied to you guys for appointment in the general membership position. I spoke to her, and she is in agreement that this would be a good idea to move her to that position, just so we maintain this balance. Because we also, as we discussed, have the majority of the board, with the exception of myself right now, that their terms all expire at the same time. So with that, all that information, if it makes any sense, for me to put together a dynamic board to go forth and do what's needed within this Board of Public Health and within that department to take us from what we've always done to where we should be as a leader in rural public health service, and also to do really research and evidence-based programs, not just the same programs, but are we doing the right thing at the right time in the right way? I need these people in these positions in this way, and I hate to say it, I just need your trust in moving these people to that position. You will vote tonight on Ms. Essick. I've known her for a long period of time, has an extreme amount of leadership and background. And then the other one that I know that has applied for the general membership has a great deal of organizational and grant and research funding background, and that's Ms. Osteen, who lives in Lawsonville. So with those positions being put in that role, I think I can get what the things that you, as the Board of Commissioners, and what the public needs accomplished in a short order. Do you have any questions of me?
We'll start Commissioner Cox on this one.
I don't really, because I've been serve on that board, which I've only been at one meeting so far. I was only put on there just right before that first meeting. So, but I do think that we're going down the right path to try to do this board more like it's required to be, with the professionals on it that are required to be there. I think we're heading in the right direction. I don't have any questions.
Mr. Wood?
I agree with you. How quick do we need to do this?
Well, and that's really a procedural issue. You have one person that I believe is on the agenda tonight, on the action agenda, and that's Ms. Essick to fill the RN position. You have another one that will be presented to you in discussion agenda tonight, Ms. Osteen?
No, I was gonna wait until you presented to see what
Okay.
you were gonna recommend
Okay,
doing.
all right. Well, then, that really is a procedural issue back to the manager's office, whether you move it to your action agenda to determine to move Mr. Lawson into that open general membership position. And then however you guys will, however the board's pleasure is at discussing Ms. Osteen's application to place in the open optometrist position that Keith would have filled,
Okay.
if that makes any sense. It's like moving peanut shells around.
It sort of does.
Makes a lot of sense what we've been through today.
Commissioner Shannon, you have any questions?
It makes sense to me. You're on the right track. And
Okay.
Mr. Mendenhall?
I'm good with it. It looks like he's wanting to move this to coincide with state statute. And that's certainly the way I think we need to go. Thank you.
I applaud what you're doing. I've been around here since 2004 off and on, and these prescriptive positions have never matched. And I really think they're set up that way by statute for a reason. And I think you're right on the right track of trying to put a real effort into getting them filled with those positions like they should be. And then I think you'll be able to accomplish a whole lot more.
Well, I appreciate that. And just to give you a little bit more reasoning behind this. We feel that we may very well be able to obtain a veterinarian. Let's see, a dentist as well. We have several new dentists that live in the county. The one position that we don't feel like we will fill, even though that you can reach outside the county, is the optometrist. So that's why we wanted to move in this direction. So
Okay.
I appreciate your consideration.
Fully support it, fully support it. Okay, the next item on our discussion agenda is the animal control ordinance revision request.
Community health.
Community health.
Oh, did I miss that one? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I checked it off too early. Community health worker position request.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in our department head session. I just need the okay to freeze our health educator position and open this position up so I can hire someone for it, because I need someone out in the community, letting everyone know the resources that we have in this county. And the sooner I can do that is the better. If you just approve, it's all I need. If you have any questions, I know I gave this to you before, but.
Okay, Commissioner Mendenhall, you have any questions?
Sure.
Comments?
My main one would be, what is the timeline? Do you need moved to action tonight, or can it wait till the next meeting, or would you prefer?
If we can move it tonight would be best, just so I can advertise and close the other position out.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend, after everybody gets a chance to discuss this, if it's okay with the other commissioners, that we move it to action tonight.
Okay. Any other comments? You have any other comments, question? Commissioner Chandler?
Yeah, no, when you described it at our work session, it made sense. I think it's effective use of the slot, the position.
Okay, Commissioner Wood?
I'm good, I'm all for it.
I think it's a good idea.
I'm good to it from your description you gave us in the work session. The board good with moving to action tonight?
Yes.
All right, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Now we go to the animal control ordinance revision request. Lori Shore Smith will be making that presentation, our animal control director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
So I have put together just a very short slideshow for you guys to take a look at. I will tell you, I did not include any graphic photographs, but I have plenty if that's what it kind of takes to see what we deal with on a daily basis. But I have spared you what we see every day. So if you'd like to take a look, it just talks a
Pull
little
that mic towards you just a little bit there if you would. There you go.
Is that a little better?
Is it working tonight, that mic?
Should be. It's
Should be,
fully
okay.
charged when we turned it on, but. let's go.
Okay.
So if you'll take a look at the screen, it just talks a little bit about tethering. I'm going to show you some photographs. 99% of these were taken in Stokes County from cases that I've been involved with. It just talks about the inhumane practice of tethering, how it damages a dog not only physically sometimes, but also psychologically. This goes over state law. It's been against the law to restrain a dog in a cruel manner since December the 1st of 2001. A lot of your counties and local municipalities are passing tethering bans. We're seeing it every year. More and more counties and municipalities jump on board, and they are actually considering passing something at a state level in the future in many states. So that's just your typical definition of restraint. It can create a life of misery. It creates isolation. A lot of the animals that we get in the shelter that have been chained are very unsocialized animals because they've had little contact with humans other than their owners. They're subjected to be attacked. We have seen several cases where dogs have been tied up and a pack of dogs or either coyotes will come up and attack them, and they have really no way to defend themselves. A lot of things that we deal with are embedded collars and embedded chains, and those are 99% of the time from animals that are restrained by tethers. They suffer in inhumane conditions as far as extreme elements out there that whether it's wind, rain, hurricanes, flooding, they're subjected to all of that, especially if they don't have proper shelter. They are also exposed to a lot more diseases because they pretty much walk in a crop circle in their own feces. This dog was rescued in Stokes County. She lived on a chain. She was very sick. She was diseased, and she was a very sick dog, so she is no longer in that situation. This is another case I did in Stokes County. This dog was actually very pregnant, and you can see how she lived, and she literally had about maybe 2 feet where she could move one way or the other. And she constantly was tangled in that fence. So she was in a very dire situation. She had no shelter at all. And I think there were 20-some dogs in that case that were all mostly tethered outside and living in very similar conditions. These are 2 more cases in Stokes County. You can see where some of those dogs were chained and all they had to get under was a table. The horse was extremely emaciated and diseased, and that horse was actually living on a chain. These are other photographs from Stokes County that I've been involved in. A lot of these animals become entangled and can't get free, so they can't get to shelter if they have shelter. This is another case in Stokes County. You can see this dog was chained. The only shelter she could get to was crawling under that shed. She was severely diseased, severely emaciated, had no fresh water or food available to her. This is another case in Stokes County where these dogs did not have proper shelter. They were very unsocialized. So a lot of times when we deal with situations like this, the dogs are very aggressive just because they've had little to no human contact. This is another case just where these dogs lived pretty much isolated way back in the woods. Most people didn't even know they were there other than the owners. A lot of these dogs become very aggressive. They get territorial of their space. And if, we've seen situations where the neighbor's dog, the neighbor's kid was playing with a ball and it rolled into the crop circle of that dog and the dog attacked the child. Unfortunately, it happens. A lot of the animals, you'll see that donkey is on a chain out in the sun. It has no way to get out of the elements. It has no shelter. The doghouse to the right was actually a dog that was chained in the woods, and that's how much that dog was starving, that it literally ate the plywood off the doghouse. The one on the left was a dog that was attacked by other animals and left chained up. The dog on the right, again, has a crop circle without proper shelter, had never been taken to a vet, and is out in the elements. So no way to get out of that excruciating sun that day, which was about 93 degrees. So I just ask that you guys will consider doing something with our tethering ordinance to prevent this type of suffering, because we see it, if not on a daily basis, at least a weekly basis. Animal control, our officers see this. These animals constantly add to the overpopulation problem because any females that are not spayed that are chained out, they get pregnant. I mean, it just happens over and over and over pretty much every heat cycle. So what we are proposing, it's not an all-out ban, but what it is asking is that people who do own chained animals, that they only chain them or tie them out when they are attended. So if you are out working in your garden, you can tie out your dog as long as it complies with the ordinance, which is the trolley system, which is already in the ordinance. If you are going camping, things like that. So we're not taking away those privileges, but what we are asking is that they not be chained 24/7, where they just pretty much live a miserable life where they're exposed to the elements and exposed to all kinds of dangers. And the big part is the unsocialization. Those are the dogs that are very hard to adopt out when they come into the shelter because they're just so under-socialized, they don't know how to interact with people. They bite, a lot of times out of fear. So that's just a short slideshow to show you a little bit of what we deal with on a daily basis. And again, I left out all of the graphic pictures, but there's a ton of them. So just wanted to spare you that. So what we have done with the ordinance, and I've given it to the advisory board, they have read through it and approved it. It also has been to the county attorney, John Router, and he has tweaked it a little bit. Most of what the changes affect are the tethering, which would now be attended tethering. We took out all the dog license tax because we haven't been doing that for the last couple of years, so it was no use to be in there anymore.
Say that again, I missed that. What, took out what?
The privilege tax.
Oh,
the
okay.
county
Oh,
tax
yeah.
tax.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah, since we haven't been doing that the last couple of years, that needed to come out. We have made a few changes, other than that, on redemption fees. We are constantly getting in animals running at large. And when an owner comes to redeem it, they're charged a minimum redemption fee. I'd like to bump that to $50, which honestly doesn't even pay for our gas to go pick them up when we have to go pick them up as a stray. It's just, it's redundant. Sometimes we get in the same animals over and over just from irresponsible owners that are allowing them to run at large. So we would want to bump the redemption fee to $50, which is not that big of a change, but it would help. And then we have changed the kennel permit fees. The fees are not changing. I know you guys, I think, passed those a couple years ago. But what it is doing is implementing a fine for people who have constantly bred their animals without having a permit. That is in there. It defines on page 10 your attended tethering, and then the running at large. We would like to implement a fine of $100 for any animal that's found running at large, just so there's a consequence with that action. And then any animal that has been found running at large for a second time would incur a $200 charge. I think this will hopefully help combat some of the problem, because every single day we get calls for animals running at large. We've got a dog in there right now he's in there for the second time in less than a month, running at large. And so all his owner has to pay is the redemption fee, and then however many days he's been there board. Because he's current on rabies, because we vaccinated him the first time he was in there. So it's just kind of a redundant thing. And the citations are the other thing that we wanted to implement a little bit of a change, because the way it reads now, we pretty much have to go out there 6 times for the same problem in order to seize an animal, and for the owners to really be held accountable. So we just want to shorten that by the 3rd time, if you're not going to be compliant, you're pretty much not going to be compliant. That's what we find out in the field every day. So we just want to kind of break that down to 3 strikes, you're out instead of 6. Because we find that once we've been out there twice, if they're not going to comply, by the 3rd time, they're not going to do it. So that's pretty much the changes that we've implemented. I think you guys got your packets on Friday, and hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at them. But this is just something that we feel like is needed, and we hope and ask that you approve those changes.
Okay, one comment. I think we'll probably put this back on discussion for one more session before we take action on it.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, like you said, we just got it Friday, and it's a lot of reading. And every sentence in it really has to be scrutinized, I think, because we really need to get it right, because if we miss something, then it'll create an issue. So what would be really helpful if you could get with Amber and give us a copy that's got yellow highlights on all the changes from what we already had approved.
Okay.
And that'll really help us be able to deal with it
That's been submitted.
at the next meeting, if you would. So I think everybody kind of needs a little more time to,
The copy that Ty sent that had the yellow, I guess that was all the changes with the
It
highlights
was.
and the red that I've cleaned up, but I can just pull that same copy. and
Okay.
send it.
okay.
And as far as the tethering goes, the only change with that is that it needs to be attended, because it is very hard for us to enforce something that has a gray area, and I feel like it just needs to be black or white so that it's enforceable. We can't enforce something that says you can tether your dog out for 3 hours a day or 5 hours a day. We can't enforce that. We don't have the resources. We're understaffed as it is, so we need something that's enforceable. And this is something that would be enforceable.
Okay. I have a couple questions, but I'll let the others go first. Anya, you want to start? You have questions, comments?
Well, I would like to see the copy with the highlights in yellow of the differences, because what we got, it was, you had to flip back and forth between the two, because we were looking at it online and couldn't really see all the changes because they weren't highlighted or anything in what we got. So that would be helpful to read through before the next meeting and see all that. But I agree, you shouldn't have to go out there 6 times. If they're not going to change, if they don't do it the first or second time, they're probably not going to comply. So it's
We
kind of
just
a,
have recalls. We just don't have the resources to go
Right.
out over and over for the
Right.
same issues.
right. I don't have anything else.
Thank you.
Mr. Wood, you have questions, comments?
Yeah, because I'm confused. In the
Okay.
beginning, did it say this was already law in North Carolina?
It's pretty much
Right.
tethering one in a cruel manner.
Okay.
But again, that's a little bit gray, so that's why most
Okay,
counties
all
are
right.
going to an all-out tethering ban now.
Okay.
A lot of counties in North Carolina have gone to no unattended tethering. I have a list of counties that's a little old, but it's not quite updated as of probably this year or maybe half of 2021. I've tried to reach out to several groups to get the updated list, and I'm just having a hard time being able to get it. But there's a list of the ones that I have so far.
Okay.
All of these have unattended tethering, even Surrey.
Surrey has a no tethering ban. I think they have I don't know if theirs is no unattended.
I don't think it was the last time we looked at it, because we compared it to ours.
No tethering allowed, from what I understand. I don't believe they have the word unattended in there. I think they just have no tethering.
Got anything else?
I'm good.
Mr. Chandler?
So will there be an educational part of this too? That if the ordinance is passed, that we make an effort to push the information out?
And
Yeah.
implementation, like the phase.
Yeah, some counties do what's called a phase-in period of 12 months or 15 months, whatever you choose. And that will allow people who do have tethered animals to either, house train them and bring them inside, or build a fence, or put up a dog lot with adequate square footage for the animal to live in, to get them off the chain. So we can advertise it. There's several ways we can advertise it to get the word out. Once it passes, if you guys want to do a phase-in period, we can do that, certainly. It'll give people adequate time to make changes.
So then on the enforcement side, it'd be a county criminal ordinance that you would cite if you had to cite somebody? Or is it civil?
It's more civil.
It's got to be one or the other.
We can make it criminal. I would like to. I would like to make it criminal, so that'll be your decision.
I mean, Ty, your interpretation, is it civil? Is the penalty civil or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's all I got.
Mr. Mendenhall?
I have a lot, Mr. Chairman. I was on the board when we came up with the revisions that they currently have 2 years ago. two or three of us were on that board. And I actually think, and I'm glad you asked for a continuance on discussion, because I think the last time we had it, in fact, Candace came up to it 3 times. I think it took us 3 times last time to come to a final conclusion, because I know Candace came up, gave a presentation, very similar to this. Then we had one more round of discussion after that, and then I think we took action on the 3rd time. And as you say, I read this, and I read a lot when I was in the school system, and I don't want to miss anything in there that I think is very crucial. And without the highlighted areas, it would help me to see, okay, go back over what a current is and what the proposed revised edition is, and see the differences and compare them. Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Okay, I got 2 or 3 areas. First of all, a lot of the people that do the tethering, are they drug dealers and they use them for guard alerts or something? Have you
I
not?
can't attest to that, but I can say there's a lot of guard dogs in Stokes County, yeah.
I mean, that's a reason that a lot of people tether them, to be guard dogs.
That's true.
Okay. My dog's a guard dog too, but I don't tether him. He just
Or that
barks.
they don't have the means to
Let-
provide fencing.
Do I?
It's a cheap way to
Yeah.
retain an animal on property.
Okay. This is just something to go maybe research or whatever. Since this is kind of this area has a lot of subjectivity to it when you're looking at what's cruel versus not cruel. Everybody could have a little bit of a different opinion on that, I guess. And then a lot of the other enforcement actions that you do as well. Do you know if any counties have any kind of appeal process? Like, for instance, if you guys charge somebody that, I'm kind of thinking more like an informal appeal process where you would have some group of people look at certain kinds of situations to either validate or not validate what you guys do.
I know Forsyth County has an appeal process that goes through the Animal Control Advisory Board.
Does that work pretty good, do you think?
For the most part, yeah, I think it does.
Is that something we should look at, you think, then, possibly?
It's a good possibility.
Could y'all just kind of check, to give us some feedback, maybe at the next meeting on that, on whether that would be a good thing to do? I'm just trying to kind of think of a way to keep everything from jumping straight from here to the court system. And if we could kind of have a reconciliation or mediation or validation of what's going on or whatever, that might be useful. We have dogs that are used in field trials and so forth, and coon hunting and that sort of thing.
And that would be exempt when they're hunting.
Yeah, that would be exempt. And also, like, I went to an event a year or so ago where they were doing a contest where they were treeing the fake raccoon. And I noticed, like some folks, like they would tether their dog in the back of the truck for 30 or 40 minutes after the trials were over while they went to get something to eat or whatever. That's the kind of thing that I wouldn't consider that cruelty, because these folks are really looking after their animals probably better than a lot of people.
And I think it all depends on the situation. If it's 95 degrees outside, then I would say, yes, that could be cruel, because their
Yeah.
feet could burn in the bottom of a metal bed.
Yeah.
It just depends on.
Depending on that's why I was saying about the appeal process, it is kind of subjective and situational sometimes. But at the same time, then after we discussed this the last time, the next day, I went within a half mile of my house, and a local coon hunter had a dog in a terrible situation of cruelty. So I don't think we can make a blanket statement about any particular group, but if they are doing field trials, and a good set of those exceptions, you read out a couple of them, but we really need to have those exceptions kind of well defined so that it doesn't confuse people.
They are in there.
Okay. And then the other thing you mentioned about the phasing in, I think that would definitely be a good idea to give folks, if we decide to approve a tethering ban, that with exceptions, that people be given time to phase it in. The last one I have is, the last question I had was generated just now when you were talking about running at large. Like I think like in a neighborhood like mine, my dogs go to 2 or 3 of the neighbors' houses on their property. But they're welcome there, you know, they're not like, nobody's gonna complain because they're all like neighbors, they're all buddies, they play with each other, dogs and stuff. And so I'm kind of thinking,
Well, we do have a running at large law that's already been passed.
I know that, but all I'm
Keyword is
saying is,
complaint.
But my dog is my
Complaint
neighbor's
is
dog.
the keyword.
do I?
The keyword is complaint.
And that's the reason I brought it up. That's an area that it seems to me could be kind of hard to enforce. I mean, when the dogs are all playing with each other and not causing any complaints.
Yeah, we don't go out looking for
Okay.
calls. We get plenty, so if somebody calls to complain, we do have to go out and follow up, so.
On that same subject, running at large, if we got lots of farmers with cows and horses, and I know they need to be kept up, but when you have a storm and a tree blows down over the fence and a cow gets out, they're not going to be written up because they don't know the cow's out.
Right.
Okay.
So I had an instance, Saturday before last, I was on call, and about 9:30, I got a call to go out with a multitude of cows in the road, on Mountain View Church Road. Unfortunately, one cow had been hit by a car. It was dark. The car did not see the cow in the road, and it was hit, and its leg was broken. So it did have to be humanely euthanized, but I did not write the couple up. They were an older couple. Their fence, a tree had fallen on their fence and knocked it down. So they were not charged or written up. I did say, just, try to repair it if you notice it happens, but they weren't aware. So.
But even that, if you got a repeat offender where his fence comes down once a month, then you got a
If
problem.
you're a repeat offender, then you have a problem, because then it can become a liability, because if somebody hits that animal and passes away or gets severely injured, then it's a civil lawsuit.
I think it may be a good idea, maybe I go back and look at what we had already approved before, but with the running at large, to make sure that it's complaint driven. So that,
Yes.
I mean, if you got animal control officers with common sense, they're not gonna do that anyway, but I wouldn't want somebody just to ride by and start picking them up because they were over the property line, whenever it's kind of a normal.
And I can tell you, I was at the shelter this morning, and a little bit of time that I was there were probably 5 or 6 animals on someone's property, chasing the chickens, chasing their cats, and you have to prioritize them.
We have to treat
You don't have the
calls every
resources
day.
to go out
Yeah,
to all these calls.
Yeah, we triage every day. Bites are priorities, rabies priority, and injured animals are a priority, of course.
yeah,
So but we get tons of running at large.
okay. Last thing I would agree with you about the damages done to them. I have, one of my dogs had an embedded chain that had to be surgically removed, and they're really sweet, but they do have these behavioral problems with strangers and stuff that takes years to get
It does.
them back on track whenever they've been through that kind of stuff, so.
It does.
Okay, good.
The only other thing I wanted to mention is I did put in some provisions about dangerous dogs in here. It was just so gray and so minimal. I just felt like to protect us legally, we needed to have a little bit more information in there about dangerous dogs. So I did add some verbiage in there on dangerous dogs.
Okay, you'll highlight all that for us, all those changes,
Yeah,
right?
it's all highlighted, and it'll be coming to you.
Okay,
And I think the copy that I just forwarded you all has everything highlighted and then it had a change to it.
oh, okay.
I went ahead and sent it so I wouldn't think it tonight if you wanted to get home after this one day. I'm sure you'll want to do that.
First thing.
Okay, any of the board members have any further
Just,
questions?
one question. So if we prosecute civilly, would your office be the one representing, prosecuting the case, Ty?
It'd be the DA. It'd be the district attorney's office.
Oh, the ADA will do it?
That's who we work with all the
Okay.
time, yeah.
Okay, one advantage too to having it on discussion, we give people a chance to come to public comments next time and give their opinions as well too. Where we just got this Friday, then they hadn't really had time to react. So I would encourage people to come and give us their thoughts on this at our next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, back on discussion, yeah. Yeah, I'm done, unless you have something else. Okay, the next item on our agenda is donation to Stokes County Historical Society, and I think Linda's going to be talking about that. Linda Pruitt.
I don't need this whether it's working or not, because y'all all can hear me.
Yeah, you don't need it close by.
No, I don't need it, so I'm just gonna move it. There is about an estimation, we kind of can't count them all at this moment because they're kind of stacked on top of each other, but between 30 and 38 9-foot wooden benches that were in the old courthouse that is now our Board of Education. They're in the balcony area, and we have had a request from the Board of Education to remove those. They no longer want them, and they would like to use that space, I think, for seating, is my understanding, but they want seats other than those wooden benches. So Shannon has reached out to the Historical Society, or they reached out to her, to see if we would donate, they said 2 of them, to them to be able to use at the Stokes County Historical Society. So I'm requesting, there's a little procedure we have to go through. I have to ask you if it's okay. And then if it is, then I'll have to post it by public notice for 5 days before we can sign off on the resolution. So if you all are okay with me doing that, I would like to proceed with doing the public notice tomorrow. And then by our next meeting, we will meet the criteria to be able to donate those, and you can sign off on the resolution to give them to them. Once we give those away to them, I will post the remaining ones on Gov Deals to be sold to the general public of whoever would like to purchase them. My plan is to put them on at 5 at a time, because with the number of them, I don't have the time to do one at a time. So I would like to do in like groups of 5. Stuart thinks there's maybe a few of them that have damage on it. So if we do, we'll probably lump those in with another section of 5. But once we kind of can get those 2 out, we can kind of see more exactly how many numbers we have. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything I have.
Questions, I think, go for it.
Questions, Keith?
No.
Brad? Ronnie?
No questions, just comments. When I was superintendent, we had our board meetings there. Everybody wanted to come, was welcome to come, but you could only sit on the bottom area because of the benches up there. Is Patty still over the historical, Patty Dunlap?
Yes, that's who I reached out to. Once we decided you all okayed the Board of Education, we could get rid of them. I thought I would at least ask Patty if they were interested.
Yeah, well, they're all just jumbled up there in a big pile. You know, there's a lot of people that I don't know whether you are aware, but things of that nature that have historical value to a lot of people in Stokes County. I mean, some people don't care anything about it. And then you have others that would, if you put them on Gov Deals, that they will buy 5 at a time easily.
And I think that's a great way to do it. That way, it's all posted in one location. People can, whoever wants to bid can bid. It's not us choosing who gets them, who doesn't. It's open to the public in general. And that's one reason I wanted to bring it before you all. So it would also be whoever's watching, word of mouth can get out that after the next meeting, I'll be posting those on Gov Deals. So that way, anybody who would like to bid, they're more than welcome.
Okay, I'm all for it. I know we tried to do it before, and for some reason we couldn't figure it out, but it sounds like you figured it out this time,
Do
so.
we need to put this on action?
Yeah, does it need to be
No,
action?
as long as you all are okay with me going ahead and posting the public notice, we have to post it for 5 days. So once we do that, we can just move it to action at the next meeting and sign off on the resolution. That way we've met all our general statute criteria.
You just need consensus.
So consensus that you all are okay with me to proceed.
Yep. And we have it.
So
All right, I think you're still up,
I
right?
am. I'm still up for next day.
Next item is the architectural engineering services for the animal shelter facility.
We had sent out our request for qualifications back in December, end of December, to get some qualifications for architectural services for the new animal shelter. I posted like our normal on the county's website, on NCDOA, and on the Hub website and the state system. We received 7 firms to send in for this project. We kind of got together, me, Shannon, and Amber, we all kind of looked over them, kind of had our consensus when we went into our animal shelter study group on last Wednesday the 8th. And we discussed it as a group. Everybody kind of looked over them, kind of had their ideas. We discussed all the pros and cons of each one. Some had more experience in animal shelters, some didn't. Some were from far distances away, some were closer by. So after we kind of narrowed it down to 3 and then down to our 1, I would like to request that we go with, in our shelter committee, with Freeman Connect. We felt that they were from High Point. They have done a design on a shelter, ASPCA center that was close to the size that we're kind of looking at. It was larger, but it was the idea of the size. Their project manager is actually in the Wanna Cove area, so we all felt that that would be good for travel. If we have questions, they'll be close by. Even at High Point, they're close by that they could get to us if any questions arose. So I would like to request that we go with that group to negotiate a contract to start our proceedings with that.
I'll start with you, Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thanks, sir. Just want to make sure, I'm looking on my information sheet you gave us. So you posted this on December 30th, and the deadline was 26th.
Yes.
Went out, so the posting went out to anyone, any of the architects
Yes.
in the area could get it.
Yes. I always have a vendor list I send out to, which our vendor list consists of anyone who's sent in the past. And I send it out to them by email, letting them know there's a proposal. And then we also post on the county's website and the other agencies to get more out there. And we've been very fortunate with that. We've got new people every time.
Yeah, I saw several new ones, so
Yeah.
that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anything?
No, you covered it all.
Questions, comments?
Question.
Yes.
Proposed project schedule to complete task. That's mean when they'll have the drawings ready?
Actually, their proposals ranged. They kind of did a timeline from when they would start to when they sent it out to bid. And then
Okay,
when they would,
So the low bidder is telling us 16 to 19 months it'll be ready to bid.
no. That would be ready, we're starting construction. Right. Pretty much almost complete.
I'm jumping ahead of the game, but make sure that we have a completion date from the contractor and liquidated damages,
Yes.
so we don't get hung up in some, well, it rained, or, I mean, I know they get rain days, but
Yes.
so somebody just takes their sweet time and drags us out forever and getting
Yes.
the job done.
This completion date is a timeline that the architect foresees.
Okay.
So he'll have his, and then once we send it out for bid, then we will negotiate a contract with the actual contractor on, this, and we'll build in our days and all that information like we normally do on all of our other contracts. But yes, you are correct. We will make sure all that's in there.
I don't have any questions. I think it's good to go with somebody that has experience building things for animal control or animal shelters and stuff.
I just want to say, I hope it is dry for a while because this rain has really knocked us back on our two waste sites. And every time I go through Pinnacle One Cove, I just say, Lord, give us some dry weather for this.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you on that one.
I tell you, it's really put us behind on those two.
Yes. If you all would like to move this to action tonight, that would be great. That way I can go ahead and work on getting the negotiated contracts and everything in place, not have to wait 2 more weeks.
Okay, consensus
You all
to
are
do
okay with
that?
that?
Yes.
Okay, one comment I would make is just take a look at putting penalties in the schedule as we go through this process for them not getting done on time.
I sure will. That's
We
no
can
problem.
make sure that that happens.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is Stokes County Water Sewer Authority appointment request. Amber, you want to talk about that for us?
So, there's currently one vacancy on the County Water Sewer Authority. We did receive 2 applications. It has been advertised since January 4th, so plenty of time. Only, like I said, only 2 applications were received from M. Wayne Smart and Joseph Turpin. And I know the chairman from that authority had recommended one over the other. But of course, it's the board's desire who they choose. All that paperwork's attached if you want to see the applications and also like the recommendations from the chair.
Okay, yeah, I looked at those. I need to open the floor for further nominations now.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we close the nominations with these 2 people, Wayne Smart and Joseph Turpin, and then we can hold the board at the next meeting.
Yep. Sounds good.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll do that. And we'll poll at the next meeting for Mr. Smart and Mr. Turpin. Okay, I think Shannon, you're going to talk about the lease period for the property, farm property over there.
Yeah, so this is going to be the 3rd time that we've awarded this lease. If you remember, the last lease, the last land lottery lease was Stanley Smith's son. I can't think of his
It's
first name.
not him. It's not him. No, it's not Stanley's son.
I thought it was because that was part of the reason we didn't have any trouble with the transition from the first time Stanley had it.
He's kin to Stanley. He lives over there near him, but it's not his
I
son.
think, so
Okay.
the first time that it was awarded, it was Stanley Smith
Mhm.
on that, and then the second time was like a relative. So that way, we never had any issue or feedback on anybody being able to actually harvest anything off that land before the next person took over, because I assume they worked together on that and made it easier for each other. But this time, somebody brought up a good point, who was actually putting their name in to be considered for the lease or picked for the lease, that the time doesn't work out for them as far as a planting season and a harvesting season. So our new time that we've been doing it all this time for the past 2 cycles is starting it for like August 1st, and that doesn't work out really well for the farmers. So we're just wanting to make a change to that lease. It's time to do it again. It's coming up this year, and we want to change that lease date to January. That way, the farmer whoever gets it this time has ample time to harvest everything off, and they'll know the new person's going to take over in January. They can start planning their spring time. That would be our time moving forward. Just that there's never any more issues with any kind of the harvest that they have on there already. So,
Makes sense.
I never really thought about it, and I guess, like I say, last time it wasn't addressed because I think they were already communicating on who was taking what off, and it wasn't a problem, but it might be if somebody who doesn't know somebody that has things already planted on there. So,
Yeah.
so we just want to change that date. And we'll still, Amber's already posted a public notice for it, and I think we've already gotten some inquiries and some names on it. And then so we'll still proceed with you all picking that name at the meeting that we did the last.
What meeting is that we do that?
Maybe in March.
In March.
The last meeting in March.
Okay. Okay, questions, Commissioner Manhall?
No, I do remember well that Stanley had it the first time. And that probably, as Sonia said,
Think of that.
this is probably a relative of Stanley's. I'm not sure if it is or not, but
It's a completely random thing.
I do know that.
Remember Granny that used to work in the media center at Mount Olive? That's his grandma. That's his, we all called her Granny, but it's his.
But to me, the January 1st, switching it to that day would be much better. Much better. So I'm all in favor of switching to January 1. That's all I have.
Any questions, comments?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yes, I think it's a good idea to do that too, makes sense. I have a question, just a couple of questions. Have you guys had any feedback, positive or negative, from farmers on, first of all, the length that of the lease that we're doing, and then the fact that we used the lottery to pick the winners? Everybody seems to be happy with that process.
I mean, they remember it because the same people that And I had people reaching out to me already then, wanting to put their names in, and they're doing the same thing now. The same people are reaching out, and we posted in the paper, of course. And we also notify everybody that put their name in last time, that it's time to do it again if they're interested in putting their name back in. No, they seem to like it fine, and no issue. The only issue this time was somebody did bring up the thing about the timing, which I get.
Okay. I just thought 5 years is a long time to, if we could get more opportunities for folks if it was a shorter lease, but there may be some disadvantages to that. So, if y'all, nobody's complaining? Okay.
Not either way.
Okay.
Only about the start date.
Okay. So we put that on action for next meeting then. Okay, our last item on the discussion agenda is budget goal meeting dates. I guess we need to get our calendars out.
So, based on when the board already meets for their regular board of commissioners meetings along with the other meetings we've already scheduled, the dates that Shannon and I sat down and came up with are March 7th, 9th, or 14th as potential options, just for the board to talk about what their, I guess, desires are for the budget and what their goals are, or what they want to see in it. So we just need to pick one date, I think, and we could pick a backup date if that would please the board. Just whatever works with y'all's schedules.
What were the days?
March 7th, the 9th, or the 14th.
Got a conflict on the 14th. I can go to 7th or the 9th.
I'd prefer the 9th. I mean, the 7th over the 9th.
I'm good with any of those dates, so I'll do the 7th.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm open.
Do a 7th.
I'm always easy.
That's a Tuesday. What time?
Whatever y'all decide. We didn't know which worked best for y'all's schedules. Well, we probably will allot 2 hours.
In the morning.
About 2 hours, probably. 2 hours in the morning.
9 to 11.
9 to 11.
Okay.
On the what?
March 7th.
Yes.
I think we can do it with one meeting. We should be able to, especially with all the input we've had already on budget items with the department head meetings.
We might know too much.
All we got to do is basically give you some guidance on basic stuff like fund balances, tax rates, that sort of thing. Y'all be able to do that in one meeting. Okay, I think that concludes everything on the discussion agenda. The next item is the Board of Health appointment. And this is Beverly Essick was nominated, I think, at the last meeting to fill the registered nurse position. So we just need to poll on
Just need to
that.
poll.
Okay.
Essex.
Essex.
Essick,
Essex.
Essex.
okay. Okay, the next item is the planning board appointment on the action agenda. Last meeting, Jeff Whitaker was nominated to fill the Danbury Township position on the planning board. We don't need to open for further nominations. We just need a poll, right? Okay. Poll.
Whitaker.
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 Okay, the next item on our action agenda is public records request policy. Have an action or a motion to approve the new policy.
Make a motion to approve the public records request policy.
Second.
Any questions, discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the contract for our new information technology advisor, Glenn Knox, who's in the audience back here. The copy of his contract and his resume was posted along with our agenda for the public to review. And so at this time, before we vote on that, I would, I'll make a motion, then we'll have discussion on it. So, all right, can we get a motion to approve the contract for Glenn
Motion
Knox?
to approve the contract for Glenn Knox.
Second.
Okay, discussion. So, anybody have comments or questions? I'll make a few then, since y'all don't have any. One of the things that's become really clear during our meeting with department heads is that we've got a lot of improvements and upgrades we need to make with our technology and our IT in the county. I mean, real critical type things that need to be done to avoid major disasters down the road. So that's a high priority. We're expanding internet in the county, another $11 million out in mainly the northern part of the county to unserved folks. Just happens that Glenn has been our contact for that for the past few years in the state IT office. So even though he lives here, he's been our contact for internet expansion. So he has a background in broadband as well as IT. If you'll read his resume, you'll see he has a very strong resume in all these subjects related to IT and broadband. And it's, like I said, it's an area that is of top importance to us as a board, getting broadband out to the folks that don't have it, and to also ensure that, that a lot of things associated with our network here continue to operate, and we improve them as needed. So we're very pleased to have him. As county manager, I've worked with him off and on in other counties in his job, in his broadband job, and he's extremely well qualified to help us address a lot of these critical issues as we go forward. So, so with that, have a motion and a second. For those who want to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. He's in the audience back here, and we welcome you starting tomorrow, right? Okay, great.
Congratulations.
We've got a few issues for you. Okay,
Did we have to do another motion for action on a health department thing?
yeah, we got two more to go.
Yeah, okay.
So the two that we added tonight to action, what the first one is for the
Community health worker position request.
community health worker position.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. I'll pass unanimously.
And the second one is the recommendation of Freeman Kennett Architects for the architectural and engineering services for the animal shelter facility.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think we're ready to go into closed session now.
Like 1 minute before we go into closed session.
Mhm.
Just like for a second, real quick. And I'll give all this in just a minute as far as to you all too, but I just want to take just a second to share some news here in this meeting today, that I am going to be tendering my resignation as county manager today. I'll certainly give my 3-week notice or longer if needed to help you to get through a transitional period if need be. I just have made some decisions for myself and for my family, and after losing some loved ones recently, and I'm going to put my family first for the first time in a long time. And some things, I've been in conversation with my husband about that for quite some time, and just some things have taken place that I think is going to be the best move for me. And so I've enjoyed working with a ton of people here, and think things now are really, you know, there's a lot of changes that need to happen, of course, and a lot of things that need to be fixed. There's a lot of good things going on, too, and we have some really good staff and some really great department heads. And the shelter got approved tonight as far as the architectural services. I'm really happy about that, of course. That's been a near and dear project for me and something that I've really been heavily involved in, as well as getting Glenn here. Sorry, Glenn, I love you to pieces. And I've been talking to Glenn for quite some time, and I, you know, certainly will help Glenn get transitioned in. And but I just wanted to share that, and I, you know, just going to be the best move for myself at this point and our family. So. That is,
Well, we certainly respect your decision,
Wish you the best.
and we'll have further discussions with you.
I know. I just wanted to get that out there as far as the, the proper notice of it that has to happen as far as that goes. And
And we would like you to stay and do some
Oh.
transition, definitely.
absolutely, yeah, I just, it's not a hard date of anything, if it's 3-week time or anything like that, but I just wanted to at least make that a formal notice.
Okay. Okay, now we ready to go into closed session? Motion to go into closed session?
Need the rationale read.
Yeah, we gotta do the rationale.
All right. To prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, and that's General Statute 143-318.11A1, and to consider the initial employment or appointment of an individual to any office or position other than a vacancy in the Board of County Commissioners or any other public body, or to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness of any public officer or employee other than a member of the Board of Commissioners or of some other public body pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
Okay, motion to go in closed session?
I'll make a motion to go in closed session.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay. Well, we're going into closed session now. If you, Okay, we're back in open session. Any further business to conduct before we adjourn? Get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.